Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. Now, this was the go-home show before TakeOver London next Wednesday, and man, what a show this was. I cannot wait for NXT TakeOver London. This may be the most anticipated show that WWE has, for me personally, for the remainder of the calendar year. Well, maybe how other NXT specials pan out, but I mean, this has just been so brilliantly built. I cannot wait for it, and this episode just perfectly embodied that sentiment. Ashton, what'd you think of it?
This was a really enjoyable episode of NXT, but I will say, and I brought this up to you, I think it might have been last night or the night before when we were watching Raw, this episode, I don't feel like this lived up to the last two episodes. Now, that's not to say it was bad. The last two episodes were like 9.5 out of 10 sort of episodes. This felt more like an 8.
Yeah, I think that's a perfectly fair assessment, and here's my thing, too. I think you and I both knew that this episode wouldn't live up to those other two ones, because, I mean, how could it? I feel like
on top of that, I think a big reason behind it not feeling quite as special is because the crowd was just exhausted. This was their 4th hour watching NXT, and at the end of the night for these tapings, they just kind of tuck her out a little bit.
But I think, really, just to clarify what I meant by the beginning, I mean, you look at all the shows that the main roster has left,
right.
Especially as we get close to the road to WrestleMania. I am fearful with the trajectory of that product that the anticipation that I'm going to have for those shows is just completely dwarfed by the anticipation I have for this show. That's how
See, that's one thing that I will give this show. Even though I won't say that it was an amazing show standalone, it did a really exceptional job of building up the hype for NXT TakeOver London.
Yes.
Which, really, what more can you ask from a go-home show?
Exactly, and see, that's just it. I mean,
it's so funny, too, because Raw on Monday was a go-home show, and I don't think I've ever experienced 2.5 more excruciating hours of my life.
I know, and it didn't even have that go-home show kind of feel to me. This was like, well, really, what's different here? And that's the thing. You and I aren't picky or overly particular guys. We just like being entertained, and NXT does that on such a consistent basis that even if they don't vault over a bar that they may have set previously, we don't give a damn because they're still doing better than everything the main roster's doing. But with that said, do you want to get into our first segment?
Before we get into our first segment, I just want to say, because we talk about NXT being better than Raw a lot, but if you don't believe our words, all you need to do is look at what the last segment on Raw was leading into TLC compared to what the last segment on NXT was leading into TakeOver London. On Raw, you had one guy calling another guy tater tots, and on NXT, you had someone choking a mother effer out.
Exactly. Completely different universes, really. With that said, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. And I'll tell you, while this show may have been hot, I certainly am not. I got nothing to be angry about, nothing to be pissed about, nothing to even nitpick on my end. I am good. Ashton, what about you, brother?
I actually do have 2 nitpicks.
Okay, let's have it out.
All right. The first nitpick is easily the biggest one, and it's still a nitpick, so it's not, glaringly terrible or anything. I just feel like it's a mistake for them to have Peyton Royce playing heel.
Okay.
Because she had her big elaborate heel entrance on this show with the flower, and she comes out and she's strutting her stuff and trying to act like this prissy bitch. And it just doesn't work. As soon as Bayley hit an offensive maneuver on Peyton Royce, and Peyton was down, and you could see her body language and facial expressions, she immediately became sympathetic. And you don't want that from a heel.
You know what? I could grant you that. I personally enjoyed her heel work tonight. I did enjoy the entrance, and I liked her facial expressions and her mannerisms, when she was in control. So
to me, her facial expressions especially, I felt like I could really tell that she had to put everything into playing the heel here.
Right. So for you, it's like being a heel would be a more learned tendency for Peyton Royce, whereas babyface just comes naturally to her.
Exactly. It's like you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
And that's fair enough. I mean, me personally, I would like to see her learn it because I think versatility can only help you in the long run. But, I mean, I do hope she does get that babyface run so we can really see what she can do. Because I really enjoyed their match tonight.
Yeah, I enjoyed the match too, but the whole time I had in the back of my mind, like, this should not be Peyton Royce, this should be Billie Kay. Peyton should be babyface. Like, it just constantly kind of nagging in the back of my head. And it might have even taken away from my enjoyment of the match a little bit, unfortunately, because you just said you really enjoyed it. And I'm thinking, like, yeah, it was pretty decent.
Right. So what's your second nitpick?
My second nitpick is, and this is probably going to be a controversial one, and I don't mean controversial as in, like, I'm saying something offensive. I just mean controversial as in, I'm sure there are going to be a bunch of people that disagree with me on this. I wasn't a big fan of the idea of the main event that we had tonight. I enjoyed the execution. It was still entertaining, but I'm not a big fan of taking your two biggest matches and putting all four guys involved in those two biggest matches in the ring on the show before they're fighting each other.
I could understand that because that seems to me like such a main roster move.
Right.
You know what
I
mean?
Yeah, that's my thing. Like, I honestly, I could have even dealt with it if you would have done like Corbin versus Cruz with tag team partners that weren't Balor and Joe. But to me, having Balor and Joe go at it as much as they did tonight kind of soiled me a little bit on their main event match at NXT TakeOver London.
And I could understand that too, right? Because I think it's a psychological factor of, you know, just keep them at bay, you know, make people want to see them fight, make them want that physicality. Yeah. When you give too much physicality, it's almost like you cross that threshold of consumption and you think, okay, I've gotten my fill.
And I think that the two feuds that were involved in this match are great ways for me to kind of illustrate that I'm not that guy who thinks that every pay-per-view match there should be no physical contact between the two guys involved, because to me, Corbin and Cruz is the perfect kind of pay-per-view match where you can have these guys brawling leading up to their pay-per-view match.
Right.
Whereas with Balor and Joe, it feels more like a try and not let them touch quite as much kind of thing.
Right. I will give them this, though, in their defense, because the one thing I really hate about the main roster when they do this, it's so non-committal. You know what I mean? Because there's always like that non-finish. At least NXT committed to actually having a tag team match, which we'll get into.
And I think the one big kind of redeeming factor to this was that it didn't have a screwy finish.
And that's just my point. That's what I mean when I say non-committal. Like, they played it straight. They played it straight, and I have to give it so much credit.
It wasn't one of those things where, like, oh, Cruz and Corbin are brawling on the outside. Oh, Balor and Joe are brawling on the outside. Oh, the referee just threw off a match. That's the worst kind of cop-out, and the main roster does it all the frickin' time.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, dude. You and I don't think you've said anything controversial in that sense at all, because I
think the controversial thing was just the idea that Joe and Balor shouldn't be having this much physical contact leading up to their match.
Which I completely understand. You know, I get that. And you know how
you might. You might, but I don't think that all of our subscribers, all of our listeners necessarily feel the same way. Now, I'm not saying that it's wrong to feel differently than I do. This is all just me saying how I feel, because the way I feel is this is just the kind of match that you want to have that kind of mystique built around, where, like, what's going to happen when these guys finally get their hands on each other, rather than, oh, well, anytime Joe gets his hands on Finn, he chokes him the F out.
Yeah, and you know what's so interesting with NXT is that, like, you know, there has been a precedent for this, because the last time I can remember something like this happening, it was Balor and Owens in the same ring in a tag team match, and Balor pinned Owens.
Right.
And then, you know, that was a few days before their match in the Sumo Hall.
I mean, if history is any indicator, Joe's winning the title next week.
And see, that I think is the best part, actually, because I would have been more sour about this personally if it borrowed like the main roster psychology of, okay, you lose on the go home show, you win at the pay-per-view, but NXT has shown that's not always the case. Right. So I still think there's that ambiguity there. Yep. So I think that kind of softens the blow for me personally, but again, I totally understand where you're coming from.
All right, that's all I have to complain about on that. Well, I guess an actual heat of the night would be just Mojo Rawley's existence.
Yes, I think that's a heat of the night that we can all share.
Yeah, I think I hate him more than I hate Eva Marie.
You know what? I don't even have anything to say about that. Like, I ain't even mad. Like, I understand that. So, with that said, let us get right into our NXT review.
And you know what the worst part about Mojo Rawley is?
What?
Is that his real-life personality isn't even that far off from his character that he portrays on television.
I know.
He is this much of a douchebag.
It's painful. But you know
this isn't even a John Cena thing where I can say, like, I respect John Cena the man, but dislike John Cena the character. No, I just hate Mojo Rawley.
And again, we all do. I'm right there with you. But you know what?
I'm probably expending way too much energy talking about this, but like, when he's on my TV, I don't know if there's anyone in wrestling, not even just in NXT, not even just in WWE, in wrestling, that I would rather see get punched in the face by, like, Wade Barrett.
Well, you know, I mean, that's actually quite generous, because I look at Mojo Rawley and I'm like, you know, if we pushed you off a cliff, would a search party even be formed? Would anybody really be that sad?
I'm sure Gronk would get over it eventually.
Well, yeah, see, there you go. But, as I'm trying to say, you know what didn't suck? You know what actually is amazing to watch? What opened this show? Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. I am just going to say right now, for me, you want to talk about making statements that people may not agree with? This was my match of the night right here and my segment of the night right here. I loved what Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy did tonight more than really anybody else.
Nice.
Because I think they grew more than anybody else.
That I
absolutely freaking loved from the word go how they played it straight, how they stayed angry. It wasn't a 1 week thing. It wasn't a John Cena, I'm going to put on my constipation face, beat the crap out of somebody, and then the next week cut a PG promo. You know, they kept that anger, that sense of continuity. I can't tell you how much it was appreciated, not just in the body language and in the facial expressions, but the match itself. There was no pre-match promo, and as far as the physicality, oh my God, Colin Cassidy put a hurting on somebody, and even Enzo got more aggressive. This guy that's always been perceived as like this cartoon character, this scrapper, this whatever. And I love the one moment, because I even forget the opposition's name, to be honest. I'm just calling them jobbers. He grabbed the one guy's head, and he's like, those NXT tag team titles are coming on with us. And you thought, like, with everything they did, they were seeing the mechanics. And I love that so much. Yeah, these guys whooped that ass, and it was amazing. I love this.
Yeah, this was really, really well done. And I think you mentioned just the physicality. I think that the highlight of this whole thing to me was their facial expressions during the promo.
Yeah, oh my God, the post-match promo. Can I just say, too, because I love Colin Cassidy to death, but this was a career highlight for Enzo Amore. He killed it tonight on that microphone for me.
Yeah. We know he can talk, but we know he can talk in an entertaining, comedic way. We didn't know that he was able to talk in a way that made you want to see him kick someone's ass.
Ashton, the brilliance of him blending together his personality of just being like this word spitter, but keeping it totally straight and plain and serious.
Yeah.
That's money right there.
It is.
Because, you know, he was able to keep the same style, but it was a completely different substance. And
Yep.
I love that so much. These guys took the ball tonight and they ran with it. And hey, this is coming from a guy that in the weeks leading up to NXT TakeOver London, like, I love Enzo and Cass, but I was laughing at the idea, you know, oh, mechanics are going to pick them apart, this and that, blah, blah, blah. No, they got me legitimately invested. If you're not rooting for Enzo and Cass after this, and again, this is coming from the bona fide sadist, I don't know what's wrong with you. I might have to check your pulse, because, man, did they get me emotionally invested tonight.
Wow. So you're actually behind them now.
Oh, yeah. How can you not be after that? The way Enzo Amore...
Well, I'm asking the same thing to you, how you can not be behind guys like Sami Zayn and Hideo Itami, but that's a different story.
Well, yeah, I don't even want to get into that right now, because that's not relevant, but what is relevant is just the way that Enzo just sold what the mechanics did, because I think you look at the mechanics too, and if you see what they do in the ring, you know how vicious they can be, but maybe they don't exactly have the look of guys that are like ice cold or could be career enders or this and that. But Enzo just made it seem like what they did, that was like an unforgivable sin that needs to be repaid. And I love it. I love how it makes Dawson and Dash look like these legitimate threats. And these guys have never looked better. And even touching on their history of being like the longest standing tag team in NXT and what this moment means to them, I don't know, man. We could be seeing a title change at London. I don't know. I mean, this really put the match over the hill for me. I loved what they did here.
I'm telling you, man, I've been saying for weeks now, we might have all 3 titles change hands in London.
We just might. I don't know. Yeah, NXT TakeOver London preview predictions for us is going to be very interesting because I don't know what the hell I'm going to do, but these guys killed it tonight. I'm so proud of them.
Yeah, and I noticed, too, there were actually quite a few really good promos on this show, including the one that we got next. We got a Tom Phillips interview with Emma and Dana Brooke, and Emma cut probably the best promo of her WWE career in this segment.
She has been on fire. I mean, can we just say that? Like, I feel like the work she's doing right now is some of the best work that not only she has done, but maybe ever will do.
I guess she got out of the oven, huh?
Yeah, yeah, I'll say. I mean, and that one line, you know, because it's all about those quotable lines that you remember. The evolution is the solution, and that's what she said.
Well, and the line before that, before this whole revolution started, there was an evolution. I loved that.
Yeah, that whole play on words that she did there with evolution was great. And yeah, just saying, like, I don't understand why Asuka's had the red carpet rolled out for her. And, you know, all these girls, again, they're in the special treatment when it all started with me. And, you know, even Dana Brooke, I think, has like, kind of embraced her awkwardness as a character. And I really have started to enjoy her more, admittedly, especially with this pairing with Emma. I think it's been very good for her.
I think long as she's relegated to heater, she's good.
Yeah, I would agree.
But when you try and get her on her own as her own thing, she's right back to being terrible.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that assessment for the moment. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll try again in due time to make her own solo act when they feel like they've sufficiently really done all they can with Emma and Dana Brooke, and then maybe she'll soar, because we always like to keep an open mind. But yeah, this is her sweet spot right now, and she's doing great stuff. I loved her little back and forth with Tom Phillips. So yeah, overall,
I love that she actually acknowledged the Tom-spiracy.
Yeah.
You know about this, right?
Wait, what exactly did she say to Tom? Because I know she had him crouched down before she patted him on the head,
yeah,
that he's so
that's
tall.
what it is, because there's this whole thing where this guy on Reddit constantly has like this conspiracy theory that he calls the hashtag Tomspiracy, where like Tom Phillips is like 6'1" or 6'2", and then in like random segments he crouches down to make superstars that he's interviewing look taller.
Oh, right. I think you've told me about this before in conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, like now. He like interviews Dolph Ziggler, and he's the same height as Ziggler, but he'll be like 6 inches shorter than him in the interview.
Right. Yeah, that was actually quite clever then, if she was really like consciously playing up that fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
good
I think that it was too much of like a winky eye kind of thing for it to not be intentional.
Right.
Like she was clearly like, "Hey Reddit. Hey, I know about you."
Yeah, there you go. Hey, I mean, you know, they sent Triple H a fruit basket. Anything's possible.
Yeah, that is true.
So, you know what? Good on them, you know, for keeping their finger on the pulse and using it to their advantage. This was a great segment from these two.
Yeah, it really was. So up next, we had a Tye Dillinger Perfect 10 vignette. Naturally, I marked out.
Naturally, I didn't, but it was still great. I enjoyed it. I really do hope it goes somewhere, so we'll see what happens.
Yep, and then we got our second match of the night, Asuka versus Deonna Purrazzo.
The booking of this was just perfect for the Asuka character, or should I say, how they want us to perceive the Asuka character. I know
yeah, dude, it's so funny. She really is like a freaking cat, where normally, like, if you think of a predator in a cage with its prey, you would think, oh, well, it's going to attack, it's going to kill, and it's going to eat. But Asuka is more like a cat, because if you put a cat in a cage with a mouse, it doesn't just kill the thing, it plays with it before it kills it.
Right.
And that's what Asuka is. She could probably have ended Deonna Purrazzo in about 30 seconds, but that wouldn't have been entertaining. That's not Asuka's style. She likes to play with her food before she eats it.
Yeah, trust me. I think we've all gotten to know that about Asuka. I'm sure my boy Anthony loved this tonight.
And
He's
that's the
probably
thing too. It's like Asuka was this cat toying with a mouse, and then two other cats showed up, and she had to like claim her territory. So she did a quick spin kick to the face and knocked Deonna Purrazzo out like a freaking light, and then just kind of gestured at Emma and Dana after they came out.
You know, I think this was probably the best booking we've seen of Asuka in the context of like episodes she's been on since she's debuted, because that was just perfect.
It's like
everything
you can really
about
like
it.
this is the match that made me realize like all these longer matches. It's not that they're trying to make Asuka look weak; it's that she's just toying with people.
Yeah, she's sadistic. She enjoys it.
Yeah.
And I love that was communicated here, because Emma and Dana Brooke, they come out, they're feeling all confident, like, oh, we got the jump on her now, she's distracted, and then bam, that kick, and the look on their face.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like, wow, we thought we were in control, but Asuka's remained in control this whole time, and that is terrifying. This was just magnificent to me. Yep. So, yeah, another great stuff here.
Yep, and then we go from all this great stuff to a Hype Bros promo.
Oh. Well, I mean, you already talked about your hatred of Mojo Rawley in the nitpick section, or should I say the heat of the night segment. Not really much to say about this promo. Mojo Rawley pretty much saying that these guys are number 2 in the club, and I think they said some other stuff before they said, that they're the Hype Bros and they're just gonna beat Blake and Murphy. I don't know. I kind of tuned out from the pain, so yeah. But I'm pretty sure it was a pretty average promo. So
yeah. But then. That was really the worst, well, I mean, second worst part of the night, because we saw them later, part of the night, but we do get a nice, kind of flip around where we go from absolute garbage to just treasure. Alexa Bliss talks.
With that claw hand of her. I love it.
I don't know if you noticed, but she and Blake were dressed up like, Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, that was so cool.
They had the black and red striped sweater going on, and of course Alexa's was all torn up.
Yeah, I love it, man.
And
so
I think Blake's was like cut up like a belly shirt almost.
I love just like the interplay between Blake, Alexa, and Murphy, because
dude, can I just say I love how insecure Alexa Bliss is.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, she opens this up with talking about how her boys embarrassed her, and immediately she's just like, I am not very happy about what happened with Bayley. Like, it has this. What are you talking about, Alexa? You're talking about Blake and Murphy having a match against the Hype Bros. Why do you gotta bring yourself into this?
But I also love the little things. Like, for example, when she opens this promo by saying, Hype Bros, you beat my boys last week. I believe it was Blake that said it was a fluke, like really low, like under his breath, like you could hear it. I love that. I love that little interplay of like, even when she's talking, they'll get their little commentary in, but she's still, reining them in. She's still in control. Yeah, this was great, dude. And Alexa Bliss, I don't know. I'm sensing potentially tension in the near future. What about you? Because saying that she was embarrassed by her boys, and then what happened later, do you think we're seeing a dissolution coming?
Oh, man, I don't know. I don't know where either of these entities goes if they split up. Like, Blake and Murphy, I feel like if they don't kind of stick around with Alexa, I don't know what else there is for them to do unless they split up and we get that Buddy Murphy singles run that literally nobody would complain about ever.
Exactly. Very
But then
true.
Alexa Bliss is kind of floundering. She had her NXT Women's Championship match, but then just based on what we're probably going to be predicting, she's not going to challenge Nia Jax for the championship. And if she does try and challenge Asuka when she wins it later in 2016, that's a squash match waiting to happen. So it seems like Alexa Bliss is kind of at a point now where either she sticks with Blake and Murphy, or she gets called up to the main roster, or she does nothing for almost a year.
Well, Ashton, how would you feel, because I was thinking about while you were talking, how would you feel if we get that Buddy Murphy singles run, but Alexa Bliss is his valet? I mean, would you be because aren't they dating in real life?
Yeah, I think they're a legit couple, so that would definitely be interesting.
I would actually go with that option. If we're getting a dissolution here, Alexa Bliss needs to hang on to one of them, because here's my... Or Blake. Yeah. I mean, I have nothing against Blake.
I didn't say or. I said poor. I said poor Blakey.
Poor Blakey. Okay, yeah.
Because he's left out in the cold.
I mean, it's nothing against
relegated
him.
Back to jobber status where he was before this team happened.
Yeah, and it's nothing against him. I got nothing against him. It's just you look at Buddy Murphy, and he's got the look. He's got, like, everything it takes. The ability to really thrive in singles. And I think if you put Alexa with him, you've got the package round out.
Maybe stick Blake with another tag partner. Maybe Blake and Elias Samson. Because Blake, it used to be the Cowboy Wesley Blake, right?
Right, that's true.
So stick the Cowboy with the Drifter, man.
That could be. I don't know. I don't know what they'll do with Blake, but what I do know is that, yeah, this segment was fantastic. These guys their chemistry is on point, and I really hope they don't break up soon, because my thing is, if NXT and if they were to come up to the main roster, WWE were committed to making these guys a tag team act, I do feel like they need Alexa. They're great in ring, but she's just that little bit of spice added to everything that takes them to the next level.
Dude, I feel like if they would just bring these guys up, it would be a disaster on the main roster. Not because they're not good enough to hold their own in the tag division, just because the main roster is so character and personality driven, and these guys lack that. And that's really all they lack. They've got a pretty good look. Wesley Blake knows how to change his look up to get heat from the crowd. Murphy has a great look. He looks like a freaking solid just ringmaster at this point. He reminds me of Arn Anderson. And then they have a good look. They're great in the ring, especially Murphy. And like I said, the only thing they really are lacking is that like personality factor, which is easily the most important thing on the main roster.
Right.
Which Alexa brings to them. That's what she does for them. She makes that difference.
And it would make them so distinct, too, because, again, I feel like one of the greatest, character tag teams on the main roster is hands down the New Day, and there really isn't any competition for that role. You bring these guys up together.
But imagine a promo segment involving New Day versus Alexa Bliss.
Exactly. Gold. You have gold right there.
I just hope New Day wouldn't stoop to slut-shaming or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think they would, to be fair, but you never know with the main roster.
I mean, they do kind of... one of their catchphrases is booty, and Alexa brings a lot of it to the table.
yeah, she does. But with that said, I love this, and, in the words of Alexa Bliss, Blurfexa is back, or the Blake Alexa Murphy factor is back. So, yeah, good stuff.
I wish she would have called it themselves Blurfexa, because that's a TWitWoW original right there.
It really is.
Notice me, senpai!
All right, bro. What came after this?
Elias Samson vignette. Speak of the devil. We got a few of the same lines that we've gotten in the first two of these: the goodbye to masqueraders, hello to liberators, and then the what it needs is what I am. The only other line from this that I noticed was that he said "driftin's in my veins," which just tells me that they haven't changed his gimmick; they're just hyping him up.
Yeah. You know what? I really haven't said anything here that I haven't said about the other vignettes. I thought this was great. I am very intrigued by Elias Samson. I'm enjoying the build. I'm enjoying the ride. I'm curious how he's going to debut. Is he going to be in a program right away? Is he going to have a few standalone matches for a while before an official program? How are they going to handle him? But yeah, this is good stuff, and the anticipation builds.
I honestly kind of hope that they do something different with him, where rather than, hey, it's Elias Samson's first match, where he just has a random match against a jobber and he beats them and then he goes on a winning streak and then he maybe challenges for the NXT title or something like that. I hope they do something different with him where he debuts during someone else's match. There'll be a match going on and his music will hit and he'll come out with a guitar over his shoulder and whoever's in the ring, the match will end, and then he'll get in the ring, let the person that won the match get out, and then when the person that lost the match finally stands up, he cracks the guitar over their head and starts a feud with them.
Yeah, I would love that idea. I hope that is how they present him, because I think that'd be great. I mean, what a jump start for his career. I don't even mean necessarily
exactly like that, but just something different. That was just my example of what I want. I don't necessarily want that exactly. I just want something new for his debut, because the last chunk of debuts that we've gotten, you look at Hideo with his big debut feud against the Ascension, Finn with kind of a similar deal there helping out Hideo, Owens with his debut match against CJ Parker. Most recently, Apollo Crews with his debut match against, I think, wasn't it Tye Dillinger, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like, all of these debuts are just debut matches. I want a debut that just immediately jettisons someone into a feud with Elias Samson.
Yeah, completely agree with you.
All right, so now let's talk about the Hype Bros versus Blake and Murphy.
You know, a good, solid back-and-forth matchup. Yeah, but ultimately, Hype Bros do get the win after
I am so embarrassed for Full Sail that they're buying into this shit.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Like, I get that you guys are kind of that happy-go-lucky crowd that'll cheer for anyone, but seriously, have some standards. These guys are terrible.
Good God, man, that was a bit of a visceral response, but I mean, I can't really disagree. I mean, you know,
it's not even both of them. I think Zack Ryder is doing great work in this team. Mojo just makes me want to punch him right in the face, right between the eyes.
You know, it's funny because with the way we feel about him, if they were to turn him heel and just be the same annoying guy, he'd probably be the top heel in a matter of months.
Absolutely. Dude, they could Bo Dallas his ass in an instant.
Yeah, without question, dude. And I think I'm still waiting for them to do it, but they are committed to him being this babyface, and to me, it doesn't work. No. I don't know. I think, you know what? I think part of my hatred for Mojo, speaking solely for myself, is I think it does carry, like, that same kind of PG vibe that makes me groan like Roman Reigns with tater tots this past Monday, you know? It's just like, I can't get into it. I don't know if it's just
the worst PG version of Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, that's exactly it, I think. And I just feel such a disconnect. Maybe it's my age. In fact, I wouldn't doubt that it is. But I just think it's so much, and I just feel such a disconnect. It doesn't feel even remotely genuine, even though it should, because as you said early on in the show...
He actually is this obnoxious in real life.
Exactly.
Like, we freaking saw on Breaking Ground, which... let's be real here. Breaking Ground is at least part also kayfabe, because there are like segments in Breaking Ground where they'll be like, "Oh man, I'm so glad I won that match," when UI and everybody listening to this knows that the matches are predetermined and they know who's going to win it going into it. So that's just a pointless thing that they said to try and maintain some level of kayfabe, I guess, which is dumb in my opinion. But regardless, they showed freaking Mojo and Dana Brooke in a car trying to pick up chicks on the road. Like, how much more of a moron can you be?
Right, I know. It's painful. But not as painful as the fact that,
you know what match I want to see?
What's that?
Mojo Rawley versus Asuka.
Yeah! Asuka will do cleanup duty real quick.
I mean, if we're going out of it, since we're being unrealistic already with the male versus female match in NXT, let's go all the way into the realm of fantasy. I want Mojo Rawley versus Katsuyori Shibata.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my God. Make him reconsider the profession real quick.
I should have never left football. Shibata kicks in there. Oh my God.
Oh God. Just hearing you revel in it, you're pulling a me right now.
Really, like, that's the kind of punishment that I think Mojo Rawley deserves, though.
You know what? I ain't even gonna continue because I would enjoy it thoroughly. But what I didn't enjoy thoroughly was seeing Blake Murphy and Alexa, because I mean, you said in our whole debate with the vaudeville, and she is a part of the team. All three of them lost this match tonight. Yeah. So there you go. They lost to the hype rider. That's what they call it. And yeah, they got the win.
That's the thing too. Is like, I like their team finisher. I like Zack Ryder. I kind of like the way that they've been packaged. I just wish they would replace Mojo Rawley with literally anyone else. I feel like I would enjoy this team more if it was Bull Dempsey in place of Mojo Rawley, and that speaks volumes.
I feel like, I mean, I know this is like an old name that isn't even a part of the current roster, but again, we've already been taking liberties, throughout the show in regards to Mojo Rawley. I feel like somebody like Percy Watson would have been really great with this with Zack Ryder. I don't know why.
Or, I mean, on the Percy Watson train, Angelo Dawkins, who is basically just a bigger, more charismatic version of Percy Watson anyway.
Yeah, definitely. You put Zack Ryder and Angelo Dawkins together, it could have been a very interesting mix, but no.
Angelo's about to be without a tag team partner anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And what's even worse, Ashton, if commentary is any indication, which granted it not always is.
I just had a thought.
What?
Pair up Zack Ryder with Levis Valenzuela Jr.
Who the hell is that?
You don't remember him? He's that Spanish dude with the big afro.
Oh, that's right. Well, that'd be interesting.
He has a gimmick going right now at house shows where he does a fiesta after every match.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So he's like, his whole gimmick is basically that he's a party boy. Him and Zack Ryder would be perfect for this gimmick. But no, they've got to put freaking Down syndrome Mojo Rawley in there.
Oh, Jesus. But,
sorry, I really just,
the hatred. So I'm telling you, like, Mojo Rawley brings out the inner me in you. Like, damn, man. But I will say, if commentary is any indication, which as I was saying, it isn't always the case, these guys may be gunning for the NXT Tag Team title soon, which actually makes me dread the possibility of the Mechanics
I just want to
retaining.
say, I apologize to anybody who has or knows somebody or loves somebody that has Down syndrome. I didn't mean to insult you or that person by comparing them or you to Mojo Rawley. He is billions of times worse than you.
Yeah, I mean, Mojo Rawley, I would pretty much like to make distinct from pretty much the whole of humanity. He is just a whole new level of bad.
Mojo Natalia Rawley.
Yeah, there you go. And you know what? That may even be harsh on Natalia. I don't know. Mojo.
Yeah. Well, it's been a while since we've seen Total Divas, though.
That is true.
I feel like if that Total Divas hatred was still in our veins, it would be closer.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. And just the thought, dude, of these guys making a run for the tag titles. I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't even disagree with me this time if I were to say that I hope the Mechanics aggravate Mojo's MCL, maybe even just break his leg straight up permanently. So, yeah, I went there.
Oh, dude, handicap match. Mojo Rawley versus the Mechanics.
Oh, do it.
I mean, let's be honest. Any match involving Mojo Rawley is already a handicap match.
Oh, snap.
Because he's less than half a man.
Oh, double snap. All right, but you, me, Caltech Star 96, Kid Coheed, let's all bring together our sadism for Mojo Rawley and hope that he crosses paths with the Mechanics so that they can break that leg. That's going to be our chant, too. If the Hype Bros and the Mechanics are in the same ring together, I'm just going to be
that
like,
leg.
Break that leg.
Yes.
It's going to be amazing. So at least that's something we could look forward to if we see Enzo and Cass's dreams dash, no pun intended there, and they fail to capture the NXT tag titles.
Yeah, let's move on to something good.
Yeah, definitely.
Baron Corbin and Samoa Joe promo.
Oh, I love this.
Corbin says that he just flat out dislikes Cruz. Joe feels like he didn't betray anyone that Finn did, and that they are going to make sure that these guys are lucky if they make it to London.
Joe continues to really impress me. I mean, Corbin, I think, he gets enough crap from a lot of people. I know you and I really like him. He did fine here. He got, point A to B to C. Promo was fine. Joe, though, again, I love it. I remember saying, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks back, that one of the best qualities of a heel, because I know people like this, in my own life, and that's why I guess I could really identify with it and really get into it, are those that can rationalize every single behavior, even when they know they've done wrong. And Joe continues that trend here, and I love it.
Dude, and the crazy thing is, these guys are so opposite in that, too, because Joe goes so far out of his way to rationalize what he's doing. Corbin is the exact opposite. He doesn't give a single shit about rationalization. He has no rationality as far as why he dislikes Cruz. He just flat out just doesn't like the guy. No reasons, no rationality, just straight up, it's freaking hate. Just that's it. That's all it is.
There's something incredibly refreshing about a man that just really embraces that.
Yeah.
I
feel like I'm Baron Corbin and Mojo Rawley is Apollo Crews.
Yeah, except in the latter relationship, it's actually justified. But, I love it, though, because it's just I don't like you. Well, why? I just don't. Oh, okay.
I think that's face. I really just want to punch it.
Yeah, and see,
I feel like you would look a lot better if your nose was somewhere near closer to your ear.
Yeah, exactly. And, I just love that, I was about to say Cruz, I love that Corbin is that guy towards Apollo Crews.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, both of these guys as heels are doing exemplary work in their own way. And yeah, it's just really cool, man.
This was so refreshing. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, especially after all that Mojo Rawley content, so to cleanse the palate.
All right, speaking of cleansing palates, though, up next we got a really good women's match, Bayley versus Peyton Royce.
You know what? And I love that you had the nitpick and you were very observant and everything. The one positive for me, Ashton, that came out of this match, if anybody questioned the stock of Peyton Royce, I feel like this match had to put those fears to bed, because to me now her future is secure. She is going to be one of the torchbearers, in the next generation of NXT women's wrestlers, because she held her own in this match, and it was a great back and forth match. I thoroughly enjoyed this, dude.
Yeah, this was a really solid match. I feel like really the highlight moments in this match belonged to Peyton Royce.
Yeah, completely agree with you.
Because to me, I mean, first of all, the entrance, which the crowd was completely silent for, which normally would be a bad thing, but I think it was more like that hypnotized effect. Like, what the hell is going on right now? Like, we've seen this girl before, but she's acting completely different than we've ever seen her. And then kind of that, oh, hey, she's purty kind of moment when she gets into the ring with the flower and all that kind of stuff. But then, like, the big kind of, oh my God, that was awesome moment for me was the foot choke in the corner.
Yeah, I heard you pop for that, and I agree. It was awesome, dude.
She did a full split. Literally, her legs were parallel to each other, and she was grabbing the bottom rope from that angle.
I mean, dude, here's my thing. If you remember, like, Dana, I don't know if she still does it in her repertoire, but in Dana Brooke's early matches, she tried to innovate the foot choke with that whole, like, balancing, like, on my hands and doing it. No, I mean, what Peyton Royce did blows Dana Brooke out of the water, because that's genuine athleticism at play.
Right, well,
like,
I think
that's insane.
I think the big difference there is that Dana's looked like it was more her showing off, and it wasn't really that painful looking. This looked like she was adding torque to it, and it made it look more painful.
And this could also be a credit to Bayley, who I think is just an amazing babyface. Like, if you really wanted to establish somebody, like, Bayley is the go-to person, because she's such a phenomenal worker. But, yeah, Peyton Royce did amazing here. I was so proud of both women. This was great.
It was really good.
And you know what? Before I lose the train of thought, Ashton, allow me to say, too, I love the finish, because they really went out of their way, in my mind, to protect Peyton Royce as well, because she got caught. Like, that's my thing. Like, she was picking up Bayley by the hair. She got caught in the belly to Bayley, and that was it. So the idea, like, Bayley didn't even build up all this momentum leading to her finisher. She just caught it spontaneously.
Yeah.
I think really made it seem like, wow, Peyton Royce only made one mistake. She really hung with the champion. I love that they kind of conveyed that vibe in this match. So great for Peyton Royce, dude.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to her and Billie Kay getting some kind of pushes, because, and you know what, there are a lot of women here too, because there are also, like, obviously we talked about Alexa Bliss earlier, but let's not forget about Carmella. I feel like those four are kind of like that second tier four horsewomen of NXT, because obviously no one's going to replace Bayley, Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha. But if you look kind of a tier below that, I think that those are the kind of like the top four women right now, outside of kind of the sort of Asuka playground involving Dana and Emma.
Right.
And, you know, yeah, that's kind of just how I feel about it as far as these women go. I really enjoy Peyton Royce's work. My whole thing was I wish this would have been Billie Kay, because I feel like she's a far better natural heel than Peyton. But even that being said, it was still a solid match.
I mean, me personally, like, after this match, it made me want that Australian faction that we've been kind of clamoring for a little bit. And really, like, you could dissolve that in a little bit of time, and then have Peyton Royce go and be babyface, which I feel like would have an even greater oomph to it.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, if you're going to have Nia Jax become champion next week, I don't know how much room an Australian heel faction would really have to work in NXT's women's division.
And that is a good point, but I guess that remains to be seen. We'll have to see how next week goes. But in that
I could see them maybe forming after Asuka wins the belt from Nia.
That's true. Yeah, just pick up right back to where they left off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that very well
Ditch
could
Dana, pick up Peyton and Billy, and maybe even potentially Shaza and Evie.
Yeah, I mean, that to me is just quite a profitable investment, you know? You drop the baggage and you pick up these women that I think have such a bright future, especially, you know, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce.
Right.
But with that said, you know, you were just talking about Nia Jax. Bayley doesn't even really have time to revel in her victory, because Nia Jax's music hits, And Eva Marie, unfortunately, comes out with Nia Jax, but she gets very minimal talking time, and I actually like this.
And Nia shut her down.
Yeah, she did, real quick.
Yep. I don't need you to talk for me.
Yeah. I will say, and I don't know if it was just what made me uncomfortable was just like the raining down of boos, probably because of Eva Marie's presence. I really wish Nia Jax would have gone this alone and kind of gauged the reaction more organically.
You know what's crazy though, John?
What's that?
As if we needed anything else to point out that Eva Marie is terrible at everything, we can't ever hear her talk when she's getting that heat. When Nia Jax spoke, she was getting just as much heat due to just Eva Marie's presence, and we could hear her loud and clear.
Yeah, and
so not only is Eva Marie terrible at everything else, but now she's also terrible at just projecting her voice.
Yeah, I will give Nia Jax this much. She was very clearly enunciating. You could hear everything she was saying. I appreciated that. I will say, I did like one line Nia Jax had here, and that's that, you're lucky I didn't come along sooner, because if I did, you never would have been NXT Women's Champion.
Yep.
I did like that. Other than that, I think this promo really conveyed to me that Nia Jax is one of those people, you should really keep your promos as succinct as possible. I don't even really want her talking that much if she is to be NXT Women's Champion. I know talking's part of the job, but if we could really kind of curb it to like a minimum for her, I think that'd be great.
Dude, it is so funny because I feel like if Eva Marie wasn't such a terrible talker,
right,
Nia shouldn't have to talk, but I feel like she has to talk because the person that would normally do the talking for her is so bad at it that Nia has to take over.
Yeah, and believe me, compared to Eva, Nia does great. It's just, I did feel that little bit of discomfort there. But again, she did have that one good line, so I think there is some promise there, which is more than I could say for Eva.
That's my thing, though, dude, is like this feels like it should be a talent manager relationship, but you can't even make Eva Marie a proper manager because managers are supposed to talk, and she can't frickin' do that.
No, she can't. Not a lick. Oh, God, I feel bad for Nia Jax for being saddled with this crap.
I completely feel the same way. Like, if you really had to stick a heater on Nia Jax, if you're going to break up Banff, put Alexa with her. That could be amazing.
You know, and they did have that little tease. I mean, Alexa's very shrewd and very conniving. I would love to see a relationship.
Let's get an Alexa Bliss versus Eva Marie match where Eva Marie is just completely outclassed, loses in 3 minutes, and Alexa takes over as Nia's manager, please.
I would love that. Because, you know, it would be a mutually beneficial relationship because they're both competitors. They could both gun for the title, relying on the same resources. I think that'd be great.
And pending Asuka winning the title before the actual opportunity for this to happen arises, you could use Nia to turn Alexa back to face.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, if you really wanted to do it, even though Alexa as a heel is just so damn good, you certainly could.
I mean, even on the other hand, you could use Alexa to turn Nia face if you want to.
Yeah, and I think, you know, she was already kind of a face because Full Sail sadistic, you know, so
right,
you just
and
made
now,
it like, yeah.
Because she's associated with Eva Marie, that's the only reason people hate her. Well, that and the fact that she's going after Bayley, but I feel like the only reason she's going after Bayley is because Eva Marie isn't.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, it's a very weird relationship. Definitely things I would prefer to it, but I think I'm still looking forward to Bayley and Nia Jax. It should be a very interesting matchup.
You know, it's so weird. This feels so much like WrestleMania earlier this year, where you had Brock versus Roman, and it's like, oh, nobody wants to see this. Nobody wants Roman to win the title, that kind of thing. And then Seth shows up, and everything gets interesting again. That's what's going on here. It was Bayley versus Eva Marie, and frickin' nobody wanted Eva Marie to get that title. So what did they do? They threw the wild card in there. They put Nia Jax in, and now, even though she has kind of become the featured part of the feud, kind of like what happened with Seth, they're still dangling Eva Marie along for the ride, which is kind of what they did with Roman at first. I'm just waiting for that string to get cut, man.
How much do you want to bet Nia Jax wins the championship, right? And then Eva, because she calls this a friendship, maybe she tries to order Nia Jax in a match to, like, lie down for her or something like that.
Yeah. Dude, I was even thinking that. Like, are they going to try and do, like, an NXT Women's finger poke of doom?
Yeah, they may, and Nia Jax is probably not going to go for that crap, and she'll pummel Eva Marie, which may get the reaction of the year from Full Sail.
Well, and you say reaction of the year, but it would have to happen in 2016, so that would have a hell of a lot more competition.
Yeah, that is true. True.
But anyway, it's funny because that's kind of what they did earlier this year with Kane and Seth.
Right.
So again, bringing back the Seth Rollins equals Nia Jax thing.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess the role would be flipped there because Nia would be playing more the role of Kane while Eva would be Seth. But still, the idea of heel wanting somebody to lay down for them and then another heel just refusing to do the job.
Exactly.
I love that. All right, let's move on. Finn Balor backstage warming up for the main event. Apollo Crews shows up. Apollo has a little bit of beef to pick with Finn because he hasn't been answering his calls and that kind of stuff. Finn says that he's ready to go take care of business, and then Apollo brings up that he wants the championship still.
Yeah, love that. I love that Finn can never really breathe as the champion. And you almost really feel sympathetic for Finn because you got to be thinking, okay, I have got this Samoan that's just been beating my ass, this machine of a man just picking me apart and choking me out on a weekly basis. And now I've got this up-and-coming guy who's got all the momentum in the world saying he hasn't forgotten about our business. Like, can I live for 10 seconds? You know, so my heart goes out to Finn Balor, man. It's got to be rough.
Well, and we can use that then to transition right into our main event, Crews and Balor versus Joe and Corbin. This was a pretty fun match. It was relatively short relative to other NXT main events, but it was fun. And Joe just dominant in this match, completely dominant. It breaks down, and we get Corbin and Crews brawling it out on the outside. Joe chokes Balor out again and wins the match via, I guess, pass out.
I love how legitimate NXT has made that Coquina clutch submission hold. Like,
yeah, it's funny how NXT's doing something that TNA got right early on and then completely screwed up for the longest time.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just crazy to me because when you have a move that legitimately chokes out your champion
multiple weeks in a row
where he can't even tap out, he's just like foaming at the mouth, like.
And that's the thing too, is that he's not just passing out; he's like losing all consciousness, like borderline seizing, like foaming at the mouth, drooling, everything.
Now, me personally, if I know WWE or NXT at all, I would have to think that all of these chokeouts are leading to like one great hope spot at London potentially. Maybe Balor finally will escape, but then again, who the hell knows? He may get choked out again next Wednesday. Would anybody really be surprised? Because I wouldn't. I'd be like, oh well, them's the breaks, Finn. You had a good run. I don't know.
Them's the breaks. I don't know why, but that phrase just tickles my funny bone in the best way.
It should, because it certainly tickles mine. But yeah, I mean, I even said it. I don't hate Finn Balor, guys, but the veneer of the title reign is starting to wear off for me. I'm ready for a title change, and I'm still in love with Samoa Joe, so let's get the show on the road, people. Choked him out again like a bitch. Just great.
You know, it's really funny. This is completely off topic, but it's really funny. I just pulled Reddit up, and literally the top post in the NXT thread on Reddit is real life reference to the hashtag Tomspiracy. So they picked up on it too. It wasn't just me.
There you go. But yeah, Joe. And I love how, I know Crews didn't mean to, but given the tease earlier that he would forget about it, just left Balor high and dry. Like, I've got to take care of my business with Baron Corbin, and they're brawling in the back. All the while Finn's like, Apollo, I'm dying. I just get choked out.
And Apollo's just like, sorry, man, I got to take care of this dude. He doesn't like me. No one like this can exist.
Exactly, like, I was just supposed to be happy to be here. He's supposed to be happy that I'm happy to be here. I'm gonna beat everybody. Oh, man.
I was watching Dr. Phil today.
He told me to be in tune with my emotions, so now I'm getting my fist in tune with Baron Corbin's face.
I feel like we are closing really close to being in on Scott Steiner territory right now. Do you want to keep going down this rabbit hole?
I'm so tempted, but I think I'm going to stave it off. Do you have anything?
Especially because look at who is involved in this main event, Samoa Joe.
I didn't even cut his hair or paint his face, but he's still a fat bastard. But
thinks he's intimidating.
Only thing he's intimidating is with a box of donuts. Oh my God, Joe. But yeah, Joe chokes out Finn Balor.
Take your clothes off. I'm working off.
So, oh my God, still the best Scott Steiner line ever. But unfortunately,
oh my God.
Did you hear about, I don't know if you saw the video. I mean, hell, we're already doing it. I might as well take it all the way. Did you see the video recently? Because I don't know why, but I didn't bother to watch it, and that's a mistake I'm still paying for. Apparently, Scott Steiner was at an indie event, and he was wrestling this guy, and he walks over to a cop, like, in this match, and he asks the cop to give him his gun. Did you see that?
No, that sounds amazing, though.
Oh, my God. Typical vintage Scott Steiner, as Michael Cole would say. But, yeah, man, good old Scotty. But, yeah, Joe chokes out Finn Balor, and then the closing image, he takes the NXT.
Big Dipper.
Talk about a shooting star on a blow load up his ass. Wait, what?
Wait, was that ever actually a thing, or are you making that
Yeah,
up?
no, it was. Do you remember P.D. Williams' Colt Cabana podcast? That was a story he told when him and or Scott Steiner, I think, was in a program with AJ Styles. And that was a line that he had, but of course he screwed it up in typical Steiner fashion. He's like, wait, what's the ski shit? And it's just like freaking out, even though it was his botch. So, yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joe posing with the NXT Championship, great imagery, loved it. And yeah, that's how we close out this episode. So Ashton, is there anything else you want to say before we get on to our next segment?
No, let's go.
All right, high spots and low shots. You know what? I'm going to say that my low shot is Finn Balor. Because, again, choked out like a bitch. So, Ashton, who's your low shot?
Oh, my God. My low shot is, sadly, Lincoln Murphy, because they lost to it.
You going to be okay?
No, I'm not.
Fair enough.
Seeing it's still a member of the NXT roster, I won't be.
Easiest high spot I've done in probably quite some time. Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. These guys had a career night tonight for me. I loved everything they did. They had growth tonight, which I never thought they personally would have. Not because that they're not good, but just because I always thought like the way that they portrayed themselves up until now would be the way it always was. And to see them do something different and pull it off just shows me how great these guys really are. So yeah, hands down, Enzo and Colin Cassidy, my high spot tonight.
Yeah. Well, I think that being said, my high spot for the night is going to be Asuka, because she took care of business. She won. I think this is the first NXT match I've ever seen somebody win via knockout.
Yeah, dude. How awesome is that? That's like some Kevin Owens shit right there.
I was just going to say the last time somebody won by knockout that I can remember was Owens winning the NXT title over Zayn.
Oh, amazing. But, yeah, man. Great stuff. Is there any closing remarks you have about this go-home show before TakeOver London next week?
What was that, John?
Do you have any closing remarks about this go-home show before TakeOver London next week?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think it's... My whole thing is I can't wait for preview and predictions, because that's going to get the hype level rising so much. And do we want to do that? You know what? Let's do that, since it's going to be an earlier show time. It's going to be at 3 p.m. on Wednesday rather than 8. Let's do preview predictions on Monday instead of Tuesday.
That's fine with me. Yeah, I'm totally cool with that, dude. Absolutely.
Because Tuesdays and Thursdays are our Lucha Spotlight episodes.
Right. So, all right, guys. I mean, you heard it here. You can expect NXT TakeOver London preview and predictions on Monday. Going to be very interesting discussions. I have a lot of work to do mentally. I am racking my brain over really most of these matches, even though some of them may seem incredibly straightforward. You know me, can never let anything rest. But with that said, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Ashton, what questions do you have for our audience this week?
Well, let me tell you something, brother. My only
Yes.
question this week is simple.
Okay.
Is there anything on NXT TakeOver London that you are looking forward to less than anything that's happening at TLC? Because
I like that.
The answer for me is no.
The answer for me is no as well, but I really like that question. So guys, make your comparisons between the two cards, and how does it come out for you? Be sure to take the conversation over to TWitWoW, an amazing pro wrestling group on Facebook. So many NXT fans there. You'd be right at home, but I get it. If you're not one for that and you just want something more low key, a little bit more intimate, Ashton's created a TWitWoW subreddit. We've got a nice little niche community of amazing TWitWoW fans. There you can find all of our TWitWoW content, and you can create threads yourself towards Ashton or myself about all things pro wrestling. And guys, with that said, we will see you tomorrow for our next Luchador Spotlight. That being Phoenix is getting spotlighted. This episode is going to be a great discussion with the man of 1,000 lives. And as we already said, we will see you for NXT TakeOver London preview predictions for Monday. And with that said, guys, tune in and peace out.